In looking at your materials on knowledge management, you've suggested that for some companies that have used it for a while, knowledge management is at risk of becoming somewhat of a chore and losing momentum. What are the danger signs of this?
Well, there definitely is that danger, and I think almost any large-scale organizational initiative that's been going on for a long time runs that risk, and KM's really no different. I think there are a couple of things you can look for and that you really should look out for if you're running this kind of system. The first would be quantitative measures like how much is being captured, has that rate slowed down, and how much is it being used? Has that slowed down? Are people using it less, or are fewer people using knowledge management platforms? But then the second, perhaps more important thing is looking out for behavioral signals, like people going around the system instead of using it. For instance, you might start to see a spike in emails from people saying, has anybody done this before? Or who's got experience in this industry? And really they should be using the knowledge platform that you've invested so much time and money in to answer those kinds of questions, and it's really a danger sign if they're not.
How do you find out what's going wrong? What kinds of things do you look for?
Well, there are a number of things you should definitely keep monitoring and keep looking at over time. One would be the business relevance of your knowledge platform and the knowledge that's stored in it. Does it still really reflect things that matter to the organization? Is the right kind of knowledge in there? Does it reflect what the organization's trying to do? That would be the first thing. The second thing would be the sheer volume and complexity of information. Has it gotten too crowded, too busy, so that it's really hard to find the stuff that matters and leads to frustration when people are trying to search? Third thing might be, are your users making the most of the system? You shouldn't ideally require much training for this kind of thing, but maybe you need some advice and some tips, especially if you're finding a high degree of abandoned searches or failed searches in the system. But perhaps the most critical thing would be the attitude of the people using it, especially the leaders and managers in the organization. If they are not behind it and visibly behind it and really walking the talk in terms of both sharing knowledge with other teams and importing knowledge from the rest of the organization, then that's a real danger sign as well.
So what are some of the most important steps that knowledge management leaders can take to revitalize their programs?
Well, the first thing would be just to reset that business relevance question with the knowledge system. Is the knowledge that we're trying to capture really aligned to the organization's mission and strategy? And you can almost make a direct link there between the key themes of the business strategy and the key types of knowledge that need to be collected and curated to support that. So if there's a mismatch there, that's a danger signal that can and should be fixed. The second thing is related to that is the spring cleaning of content that's gotten old and out of sync and outdated and not consistent with that mission. So there's often a spring cleaning job to do after a while. Maybe your knowledge capture's been too successful and you've captured too much, and you really need to go back and clean things out a little bit. Maybe highlight the most important content, and also maybe fix the taxonomy, because maybe the organization of the content needs to be changed to reflect the new priorities.
Simon, what about specific things that team leaders and line managers can do to help the knowledge management effort?
Well, their role is really critical, as we said earlier, and they really need to show that they care about knowledge sharing in order for their teams to pick up on that message and deliver on it. And there's really two kinds of things. They need to firstly show enthusiasm for sharing content that their teams develop. So encouraging people to give seminars or presentations to the rest of the organization, as well as doing the grunt work, if you like, of uploading content, and just encouraging them generally to socialize what they're learning and the insights they're generating. So there's an outward element to this, and there's also an important inward element to it, which is essentially making it unacceptable for team members to reinvent the wheel. You have to communicate the message that I'm always going to ask you, who did you connect with to find out about this problem? Who did you ask? Did you check around the rest of the organization that nobody's done this before? And that really becomes an expectation of team members then, so they don't try and go it alone and fail to use the resources that are available.
So you're suggesting that the whole team needs to be involved, the team leaders and the knowledge management leaders as well. What are the main takeaways that you would have from this?
Well, I think the main one is to keep on top of this, to keep monitoring and checking up, both on the organizational alignment of the knowledge management, whether it's really addressing the right issues and helping people with the right things, and then also whether the behavior of the leadership, as you say, whether that's really matching with that and helping to sustain and maintain the effort. And just keeping an eye on that dashboard, if you like, of key things to think about, and if the trends are moving in the wrong direction, acting early before things get too bad, because renewal is easier from a higher plateau rather than when things have gotten really out of sync. So those are the main things I would take away.
Well, thank you very much, Simon, for this, and it's been